Okay, ladies and gentlemen, we're here live 5 around the world on Wind Talkers Radio Network and on the Internet internationally through Blog Talk Radio. And those of you out there on the phone bridges around the world, welcome. I have not mistakenly missed you. Thank you very much, those of you out in the outback in Australia and the South Island of New Zealand, for tuning in. We love you. We want you to partake of what's going on. And yes, I know about your beef out there in Australia, and it's great beef as well. But the longhorn beef here in Arkansas and around the United States is real American beef that raised this nation, that brought this nation up to one of the greatest nations in the world. Today we have Mr. Bob Chapman. You heard the commercial there. Get in touch with Mr. Chapman when you can, because you're not going to be out there being lied to. He's going to tell you the straight scoop, and he's going to give you the name, address, phone numbers of those who will and can protect your assets. Mr. Chapman, before we went to the break, you got a little question there from Pete up in Vermont asking you, does the FDIC and the Social Security Agency really have or do they really exist, or is it just a figment of people's imagination because there is no money?
Well, first of all, they do exist. Second of all, we never know how much they've got because government won't tell you. And nowadays what they do is they say it's a state secret, and government is able to be able to protect that, because they say if it was generally known, people might have doubts about what was going on. I know that's a convoluted answer. But the FDIC has money. They got it from the banks themselves in fees, and the government also contributes to the fund, we'll call it the FDIC fund. But with General Motors coming up and Chrysler in bankruptcy, I think everything and then some will be wiped out. I mean, we're talking, I think 300,000, 400,000 people who are, going to be out of work, and that's going to affect everything, and it'll affect a lot of banks, and so I think the FDIC is going to need a lot more money. They have had so many complaints from small and medium-sized banks that said, look, we did what we should have done and didn't gamble at 40 to 60% of what they had in deposits. In other words, in the fractional banking system, a bank, if they have $100, can lend $1,000 on that 100, maybe $800, depending upon the bank. These 19 big banks, the money center banks, they will lend in 50, 60 times. It's never happened before, at least not in our society. And so they're bankrupt. And the other banks are saying, no, we're not going to pay for it. So the FDIC has asked the federal government for $500 billion. Well, the federal government doesn't have $500 billion. They can't even pay their own bills. That's why they're selling bonds to the Federal Reserve, who have no money. They just make it up out of thin air. That's why we have inflation. And so I think what will happen is the FDIC will get $500 billion to bail these banks out, and the shareholders as well, mostly the shareholders. The Social Security, from the day it was formed, it was insolvent. All the money that goes in the Social Security tax, and believe me, it is a tax, and they do not have to pay it out in the form of Social Security. There's no law that says that they have to. It's never had any money. All the money that came in all those years went in the general fund and was used to keep the government going. Now, they say they have bonds sitting in a vault that have been given to the Social Security Administration by the government. The problem is the government can't make the bonds good. They're not tradable in any market. They're worthless. So there really is no money in Social Security. Only the income that comes in from people contributing. It's one of the reasons they have been so lax on the introduction of illegal aliens into the United States, because they want to make them all citizens, so they have to pay Social Security and other taxes, and to keep the system going. And so that's what FDIC and Social Security are all about. Of course, you call them up, they're not going to tell you that.
Yeah, I understand that. They're not going to say a word about it. Betty comes in from California, and she says that oil prices appear to be going up, because I just came in and gasoline has jumped 22 cents just in the last 24 hours out here in San Diego. What is all this about? There's no shortage of oil out there.
There never has been. It's another fable. It's a piece of disinformation, adverse propaganda. And
Dan comes in from Shreveport, and he says that oil companies are saying that their profits are plunging, but the only reason their profits are plunging is because gasoline is selling for so much cheaper than it was last month and 2 months ago. Is that true?
Well, it's true, but it's going up. It's going up. In fact, today there was a big breakout in a break upward. Wholesale gasoline was, which had got down to about $1.20 a gallon, was $1.67 today, and we had, I think, a low of around 320. About 322 on natural gas in the last few weeks. And it closed at 4.15 today. And what's happening is there's been what they call reallocation of assets, and money is being rolled out of the market in these short-term profits, 2 months of the market running up, and it's being reallocated into the commodity area and gold and silver as well. And I think you're going to see a further run in commodities as this, they call it rotation, takes place. And I think the stock market is finally, over this 2-month period, topping out, and it could go back down quite quickly. But gasoline is going higher. And we're coming into the driving season as well.
I have an IM from a Marine that's a recruiter in New York, and he says, Mr. Chapman, and there are some sons of some of these men that are running in Wall Street. They're getting information to me saying that the stock market may collapse here within the next 2 to 3 months, at least drop another 1,000 points, and they're worried. Is that a possibility?
Yes, it is. But you know, it's all too hard to try to pick, you know, the top of this and the top of that and where this is going to go. I've been enormously fortunate, and I guess it's experience, but, you know, in the last 10 years particularly, I haven't been wrong on almost anything, maybe a half dozen instances out of hundreds, which to me is divine intervention as far as I'm concerned. But I think that it's a safe bet that the Dow, which yesterday was 8,500, will be 6,600 by the end of the year. And, you know, you get older, you get more conservative. And but the possibility exists it could break down to 5,500 or 5,000, 38 to 4,200. And I think that's doable. It's possible and it's probable. as is 6600. When? It's too hard to tell. The manipulation in the market is unbelievable. Just unbelievable. And so it's very, very hard